What is the top job for a Hollywood soul seller? To pretend it never happened. Take the applause for what it is, or realize that doing this will be more trouble than it's worth. It is. So, a moment of Samuel Jackson. We were in Portofino, finished dinner once, we're walking back to board this boat. Hello, Samuel Jackson, I want a photograph. Samuel L. Jackson has reportedly made some shocking revelations, which have the grapevine buzzing. The 75-year-old actor reportedly told fans about Steve Harvey and Katt Williams in a live Q&A. After Katt Williams' Club Shay Shay interview, fans knew Steve Harvey and Katt Williams had conflict. But Jackson's statements revealed more layers of stress. What did Samuel L. Jackson say, and how would it affect the fragile relationship between two of the best stand-up comedians? Join me as we analyze Jackson's statements about Katt Williams and Steve Harvey. He quit stand-up after losing the championship of stand-up comedy against Katt Williams in Detroit in front of 10,000 people. No feud is funnier and angrier than Katt Williams and Steve Harvey. After Katt's controversial discussion with Shannon Sharpe on Club Shay Shay, the two industry veterans have been at odds. Fans who scored points based on the comedians' remarks against each other say Katt is in a comfortable lead. Steve Harvey came close with his own stinging and caustic salvos. You could think the fight between these two comedians started after the Club Shay Shay interview, but Samuel L. Jackson disagrees. At the 2017 Def Comedy Jam, Samuel L. Jackson reportedly claimed the Katt Williams-Steve Harvey relationship began long ago. The Pulp Fiction star focused on Dave Chappelle giving Katt Williams honors. All the comedians and crowd laughed, with Katt Williams even smiling. Steve Harvey appeared distraught and resentful when the attention switched to Katt Williams. The game show host then said, I'm nervous as hell right now. But Dave Chappelle kept talking about Katt Williams, focusing attention on the great comedian. Steve Harvey said, but let me ask you this, realizing his scheme wasn't working. When have you seen so many strong hitters in one room? Again, stealing Katt Williams' spotlight. Fans may not have seen what Steve Harvey did, but industry insiders did. And Samuel L. Jackson was disappointed. They believed Katt Williams deserved the spotlight, even though he wasn't on stage or in the lineup. They thought the veteran comedian deserved his flowers at one of the country's greatest comedy stages after his career. They thought Steve's attempt to steal his thunder was a low blow. They thought the game show and talk show host could have waited and added a phrase or two about Katt Williams' legacy before moving topics. Not Steve Harvey. He had to overshadow his everlasting foe, and he did. Insiders claimed that Harvey might have stolen with style, but his sudden shift in emphasis was rough and reeked of envy. Along with Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer innocently sought fame. According to savvy fans, Cedric's style was more subtle than Harvey's. So many may have missed it. Cedric uncomfortably laughed during Dave Chappelle's brief diatribe on Katt Williams, wanting it to end. Once Steve Harvey spoke again, Cedric co-signed his comments with, yeah, as if to say, get Katt and get to work. Allow me to inquire. When have you seen so many strong hitters at once? Many business insiders disliked Cedric's soft, nearly undetectable style. They felt he could pretend to be glad for their absent colleague on stage. This was 2017, 7 years before Katt Williams publicly criticized Harvey and Cedric on Club Shay. Steve Harvey and Cedric the Entertainer's treatment of Katt Williams had viewers wondering why. Samuel L. Jackson was the response, per the streets. Cedric and Harvey were afraid of Katt Williams, which explains their actions on the night, according to the seasoned actor. They feared him for taking the spotlight, not for beating or shredding them. Rewind the video a few seconds to see Steve Harvey's initial attempt to steal Katt Williams' spotlight. I'm scared. Jackson reportedly said he was terrified of Katt Williams, despite Steve Harvey's antics. He claimed that Steve Harvey and Cedric the Entertainer fear Katt because he's a superior comedian. Katt mentioned this when he tore them apart in his Shannon Sharpe interview. He said he destroyed Steve Harvey in a comic war earlier in their careers. Two comedians are scheduled to perform at the 2008 Championship of Comedy. At least the show wasn't promoted as a two-comedian showdown. Katt was weary of Steve's antics and wanted to prove a point, so he provoked the talk show host. He then made personal remarks about Steve, saying he was bald and wore a man's wig. Steve Harvey often sported a high-top fade haircut on television, so few people knew he was hairless. Indeed, many young men coveted Steve's hair. The town envied his hairline, especially young men whose hairlines were retreating quicker than light. Many admired his haircut and called him one of Hollywood's best-looking black men. His haircut probably gave him confidence, since heads turned every time he passed. Thus, Katt Williams' remarks about his prized item were devastating. Katt Williams' comments on his hairless head likely shattered his self-esteem. We don't know how Steve felt about the incident, but he abandoned the wig and shaved, proving Katt Williams right. The famous TV talk show host now has a clean-shaven head and a neat mustache. His identity was hidden beneath a wig until then. Katt Williams said Steve Harvey was so broken by his words that he stopped doing stand-up comedy because he couldn't face his audience. Based on Katt's statements, Steve Harvey should be terrified of the veteran comedian. It makes sense for Samuel L. Jackson to say Steve Harvey becomes uneasy around Katt Williams. And who wouldn't? If the person who ended your stand-up career enters the room, you'll be nervous. At the 2017 Def Comedy Jam 25, Steve Harvey said he was nervous when Dave Chappelle made a Katt Williams joke. Cedric the Entertainer was nervous and couldn't wait for the 2017 Def Jam comedy to move on from Katt Williams for a subtle and complex reason. Before the year's Club Shay Shay interview, many fans didn't know Cedric and Katt Williams had feuded. Katt said that Cedric copied his jokes despite many warnings, causing his problems. He said that was his funniest joke on BT's Comic View in 1998. The TV network used the joke in their next season commercial since they liked it. Williams claimed on Club Shay that he assumed I was a no-name comedian and could take this joke without anyone noticing. Unfortunately, I'd done this joke on BET's Comic View twice. It was included in the advertisement after BET's Comic View made it popular. Cedric the Entertainer enjoyed Katt's Comedy Store joke, he said. Cedric approached him backstage after the show and congratulated him on a great performance, telling him he enjoyed the joke, only to steal it and use it in his own work. Not a random joke. Williams said, "This is my best joke, also my last and closing joke. 1998, I'm kidding. See it on Comic View." Cedric visits the comedy shop. He observes me in the audience, comes backstage. He compliments my work and enjoys the joke. He recites that joke verbatim on the Kings of Comedy 2 years later as his farewell joke. He turned my automobile into a spaceship. Katt Williams continued. He called Cedric a talentless walrus for his looks. We discovered he can't sing, dance, or write jokes. His 4 comedy specials. Shannon, they're awful. They're not on Tubi or Netflix. These statements are harsh, but the veteran comedian has accused Cedric and Steve Harvey, so you might understand. Katt accuses the 2 comedians and Ricky Smiley of collaborating against Bernie Mack. He said they seemed to adore him, but despised Bernie and worked against him. He claimed Steve Harvey was jealous of Bernie's acting abilities because no studio wanted him. He despised Bernie Mac with the same thing. Hollywood generates 3,000 scripts annually. No one wants a country bumpkin black guy who can't talk and looks like Mr. Potato Head. None. Range is essential. Katt believes Steve Harvey and his ilk tried to undermine Bernie Mac's career, but Steve and the Kings of Comedy ensemble chose Bernie as the opening act, and Steve Harvey as the last, because he was the funniest. Bernie Mac's performance was the funniest, so producers edited it last. All this seemed ludicrous at the time, but DJ Ed Lover confirmed Katt Williams' account that Bernie Mac told him the same thing. Lover, Bernie Mac's close friend until his death, said the late comic personally informed him of Harvey's alleged schemes. Katt Williams' claim that Steve Harvey called to try to get Bernie's Ocean's 11 role, Bernie spoke for himself. New Yorker. I believe Bernie Mac when he said Steve Harvey loathed him. Do you see how these scenarios perfectly depict Samuel L. Jackson's intent? This group of men seems to collude and stifle other comedians who don't take their gags. They do whatever to stay in the spotlight, even calling movie production firms for other comedians' jobs. Like Bernie Mac, who knew what they were doing but chose to work. Most of their victims kept quiet and kept things going. Outspoken comedians like Katt Williams won't keep quiet when they notice industry abuses and will speak up. This may make Steve Harvey and others fear him. Katt Williams isn't the only comedian to criticize Steve Harvey's treatment of other comedians. Steve Harvey stole Mark Curry's quips and used them in his act, which disappointed him. Mark Curry said he found out when a friend called him to turn on the TV and watch one network while he was home. He found Steve Harvey performing one of his old gags. He said he told the joke in his 1999 Comedy Central Presents stand-up special. Steve denied stealing his jokes and challenged Mark Curry to prove it. He said, "I'm only commenting because he keeps saying grow up." Never stole a joke in 35 years. Come to me like a man and explain the joke. Fans of the seasoned comedian found Mark Curry's quip and proved that Steve stole it. Mark told a Halloween joke about growing up without money and wearing unusual yet humorous costumes for All Hallows Eve. Steve made the same joke on his talk program, Little Big Shots, about growing up in a poor home and wearing weird Halloween costumes. Curry told Willie D Live that Steve stole his jokes to be like him, Mark Curry, not for financial benefit. He first didn't call the Think Like a Man author by name and talked about comedians stealing jokes. Curry said the material is comparable to rap, but many aspects distinguish one performer from another. However, stand-up comics are different, and when people steal, they must defend their originality or console the thief. Thus, he warned Steve Harvey, "I'm moving toward you. If you steal my show, F you," he said. "I step to you." That doesn't mean it has to be physical. He then told Willie D he takes pride in making his own jokes and strives to write on different topics than other comedians. This helps him spot comedians who steal his routine because his gags are unique. He discovered Steve Harvey copied his jokes that way. Try Steve Harvey. Curry remarked, "It's a B move. Maybe he's not stealing my material, I suppose. Maybe one of his writers did it. Harvey has enough money, so it looks like you want some of me. As a G in the game, I don't mind that you want to be me and don't have enough money." Steve Harvey responded to Mark Curry by ordering him to grow up and stop making stuff up. He said he stopped doing stand-up years ago and doesn't know what the old G meant. Steve Harvey hasn't performed since 2015. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Many fans believed Mark Curry when he suggested Steve Harvey wanted to be like him. They claimed the TV host stole Curry's humor and replicated Hangin' with Mr. Cooper. When he told Shannon Sharpe the same thing, Katt Williams echoed the fan. He said Steve Harvey based his 1992-1997 show on Hangin' with Mr. Cooper. Curiously, both shows have guys switching from their love to teaching and feature staff and student antics. Steve Harvey was called the same Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. Katt Williams even accused Harvey of copying Curry's hairdo to look like him. We mentioned that renowned high-top fade hairstyle earlier in the video. Steve has a sitcom as the principal and wears a suit. He obtains this high-top fade, making all black men think he has the best lineup, a man unit. As noted, these men appear to be a conspiracy that steals jokes, characters, and performing parts from other comedians to succeed. These males dread Katt Williams, which is intriguing. Although the third person said to be part of the trio wasn't on stage at the 2017 Def Comedy Jam, Katt Williams mentioned him in his Shannon Sharpe interview. The Gospel of Katt Williams names Ricky Smiley third. Katt said Smiley lied when he said on Shay Shay that he was meant to play Money Mike in Friday After Next, describing how his beef with him began. Katt said Ricky's allegation that Money Mike was reserved for him was false. This man claimed Katt Williams' part. His role was Money Mike, while Katt Williams was Santa Claus. A LA audition was held. I tried Nundar 201. 200 black comedians auditioned for Money Mike alongside me. All 201 of us auditioned, and you got the job and shot it in 4 days? Katt explained that the original movie featured an R-rated sequence where a gang of men forced themselves on Money Mike as payback. Ricky Smiley was fine with the sequence and would have shot it if the producers had chosen him. He was unhappy with the sequence after reading the script and asked the producers to modify it. Money Mike in the script got RD in the restroom, Williams said. Ricky Smiley agreed. In his debut film, Katt Williams had to risk confronting the cast, studios, and powers that be, and saying, "Respectfully, humbly, gentlemen, if we're talking about anything else, I don't have any credibility or pull. In comedy, I have all the credibility and pull. The problem with Friday After Next is that we're making a classic comedy with an R scene. No matter the circumstances, forcing someone to sleep with them is never funny." Katt revealed that around the set, he blew his trumpet and looked down on him to announce his movie star, radio celebrity, and stand-up comedian status. Therefore, Ricky Smiley deserved to play Money Mike more than Katt Williams. Katt Williams stated that Smiley's attitude on set so upset him that he put in his contract that he would never work with him again until he wore a dress. Smiley wore a frock in Sunday, his next film, as Bernice Jenkins, an elderly churchgoer. Williams said, "He was so egregious that I put in my contract, I won't work with Ricky Smiley again unless he's in a dress while drinking." What was Ricky Smiley's following film? Was Sunday first? Has he worn a dress? Yes, he did. My contract said such. Katt putting Ricky Smiley in a frock makes sense for Samuel L. Jackson to think Smiley is terrified of Katt. If a man can direct and control your Hollywood career, you better be frightened of him because he may end it in an instant. Smiley denies Katt's accusations, saying he loved the Friday After Next star. On the Ricky Smiley morning show on January 4th, he revealed that David E. Talbert had directly asked him to portray Bernice Jenkins. He also gave Williams credit for playing Money Mike, and said his character was switched after auditioning and being cast. I went out to audition for Friday After Next as Money Mike, not as Santa Claus, he said. That is the honest-to-God truth. Money Mike was formerly a panhandler who enjoyed the strip mall parking lot. He praised Katt Williams and the filmmakers for changing everything and making the movie funny with the pimp. Smiley denied Katt's assertion that he put it in his contract that he wouldn't work with him again unless he was in a dress. He chastised the experienced comic for lying so much and explained why he donned a frock in the next picture. Smiley said he chose to wear a dress. He didn't mind as long as it fed and clothed his family. He also cited famous male comedians who had worn the garment, saying he often followed in their footsteps. Funny people like Flip Wilson portrayed Geraldine. He said Richard Pryor was on his show. Fox portrayed Wanda. Martin played Shineen. I did Bernice Jenkins, Medea by Tyler Perry. Many comics and comedy greats played characters for laughs, not comfort. Nobody wants or feels comfortable in a dress. It doesn't lower my manhood. Many fans didn't believe it since they believed that these comedic greats were forced or induced to wear dresses to reduce their manhood as part of an elaborate Illuminati initiation. Others believed Hollywood made these greats play feminine parts to make them laughable. If Katt Williams could do that to Ricky Smiley, he had comic business power. This explains why Dave Chappelle gave him props at the 2017 Def Comedy Jam while Katt was in the audience. He sensed the smaller comedian's strength and praised him, while Cedric the Entertainer and Steve Harvey appeared terrified, possibly because they were next in line to wear the terrible dress. Today's video concludes. Thanks for watching.